which I'm very pleased by. My new book is called Chasing Utopia. There's a lot of funny stories about this, but there's a woman who does Canadian broadcasting. You do a lot of things online now that I swear I don't understand. I recently learned to put the password in so that you can take voicemail from your phone at work. I was really pleased, because I had messages going back to September, and people were like, and I said, I don't know how to do it, and I finally said, no, you have to learn, and I finally learned to do that. So I'm not internet-y, and you can't, you can't you can't email me, because Virginia Tech has had email, I guess, for 25 years or so. And I tried to learn it because they gave everybody a computer. You got the computer and you're supposed to do it. And I was on the phone one day, on the screen, whatever it is, I was trying to do it. And I was talking to somebody like in Hong Kong or someplace, because everybody all over the world can email me. And there were some kids sitting out in the hall waiting to come to me. And it was one of those revelatory moments. And you all haven't learned it yet, but it's something you need to learn. And I realized I'm talking to someone in Hong Kong that I will never see or know. And people who are living and breathing are standing in the hall waiting to see me. And I said it was a young lady, and I said to her, and I don't remember her name, though you don't know it, you are the last person I will ever email. And I am going to sign off now, and thank you. And I did. And I don't no, why would you ever leave the living for the dead? And of course, I hope here in Texas it's against the law of that other thing y'all do all the time. You look at, what the hell is so important? I'm going down the street, it is a lot of ice, I will probably get it. No, it's an incredible, lonely, you just know when you see somebody, what is that thing, texting, they're incredibly lonely. Because why would you have to do that I am on the toilet. It's not beginning to make sense, but that has nothing to do with this book. My mother, which was sad to me, my mother died in 2005. And, losing your mother is, I think, incredible. When you lose your father, he died. My father died, and that was like 20 years ago. And, my father had issues, so, but he did. I don't think he was a bad person, I think he was crazy. But I'm beginning to be able to understand. I could not have written, I'm 70, I could not have written about my father when I was 50, because I didn't understand him, and I didn't understand anything about it, and if you don't understand, it's best not to do anything. Right. But Mommy died, and that was sad, because I was always close to Mommy. And the first book that I wrote, because I literally wrote that, she wanted to come on, it's a longer story and it's sad, but Mommy was dying and she wanted to come home, and so there's nothing to do, so we brought her home and got a hospital bed, so she wouldn't just fall through and stuff. And you try to be brave, because my sister had a brain tumor, so I knew that my sister was dying, and so it was like, and I still think I think that Mommy died because she didn't want to bury Gary. My sister's name is Gary. And I still think that nobody said, but what about Nikki? And I know it. I laugh. We were at lunch. I was laughing about lunch. I laugh about lunch. I know. You have to know yourself. And you all don't really know, but I know that of all the things that happen, I'm not going to heaven. That's just not one of the things that's going to happen to people like me. No, I'm going to join my father. I know he went to hell. And I'm going to be there. It works, But I am going to get a day pass. Because I know you can get a day pass to any damn thing. I am going to get a day pass. I want to go up there and I'm going to say, I know what y'all did, because nobody said, well, what about Nikki? So Mommy died in June, Gary died in August, and my Aunt Ann died in October, and my friend Rosa Parks, as died near the end of October, and Coretta King, who was not close, I wasn't close to Coretta, but Coretta died like in January, and so it was just boom, 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 boom. And the suit that I wore is a black St. John. I actually just put that in my collection. I said, I'll never wear that again. And I wrote a book called Acolytes, because I've always wanted to be an acolyte. Not in the sense of the Episcopal Church or the Catholic Church, but in the sense of following great people. And so, you want to be an acolyte to your mother and your grandmother, but you also want to be an acolyte to great minds, to Gwendolyn. I want Gwendolyn Brooks to be proud of me, that kind of thing. And so I thought, okay, I wrote Acolytes, and it was sad book, it was a hard book to write, but I literally wrote that sitting at my mother's bed while she lay dying. And then you miss your mother, but Mommy was funny, and because we spent a lot of time together, you start to remember, if you give it, and I guess I'm saying this for the young people, you have to grow up and you have to give yourself time. Because if you don't, you'll make judgments, and then you'll be trying to justify the judgments. You can't justify what you didn't know because you're too young to understand something. So it's best to learn something before you write about it. Yay! Just an old lady's advice. But when I started doing this, Mommy was a beer drinker. And because the deaths came the way that they came, it all fell, we're not rich or anything. We're not. Well, I guess we're middle class because we're college educated, but that's about the only reason. That's the truth. But there was a lot to be done because Mommy died in the year, boom, 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 boom. And so I needed to do the things that one has to do when one is the only survivor. I went from being the baby in the family to being an elder. I have an aunt who's 91, but I can't ask Agnes to do, these kind of things because she's 91. She's capable, but you're not going to push that off. So a lot fell on me. I got it done, and I was very proud of myself. You all don't know me, so you can only take my word for that. But after I got done everything that I knew I wanted to get done, that I needed to get done, then my next thing was I can now mourn. And it's because you didn't have time to do it, So mourning is something, it's like I didn't give up my right to mourn. And so like a lot of people, actually, I live on a mountain and I have a really nice deck. And so I would wake up in the morning and I would, like by 11 o'clock, and I'd get a glass of Chardonnay and I'd go sit on the deck. And about, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I would switch to red. So and because people act like you shouldn't do that. Well, if you're not going to mourn when your mother dies, I don't know when you are. So I thought I had earned my mourning. And so that went on for a while. I have a dog, and her name is Alex. She's a good dog. She's a terrier. And Alex and I would go and sit on the deck, and finally, I don't know if there are any dog people, you know exactly what happened. So about, the 10th, 11th day, something like that, I poured a glass of wine and started to the deck, and Alex gave me one of those. Again. And you're just not allowed to embarrass your dog. You just can't. And I realized, she was looking at me like, I'll go with you. But you could see that she was not pleased. And so I thought, you're right. And so I said to Alex, because every day that I knew my mother, of course I didn't know my mother till she was grown, but every day that I knew my mother, she drank a beer. And the reason that I knew she was dying when she was is that she didn't want one. That's like, can I get you? Because she was in the hospital. I said, I'll bring you a beer. She said, I don't want a beer. And she used to smoke. She didn't want a cigarette. And so it was like I said to Alex, so why don't we just drink a beer for the old girl? And you're not going to move on. You're not going to forget you have a mother. I'm not going to live that long. But maybe it's time for me to, pull it up and go do something else. And so Alex agreed. I have to tell you. Well, your dog does talk. If there are any dog people in the room, you know exactly. So I don't like beer. This is the problem. I really don't. I am a wine drinker. And so I was going to drink a beer for Mom because it's one of those things like if I went to the moon, which I would love to do, or Mars, which I've written about I would love to do, I would take a beer and I would drink a beer for Mommy. And when the first time I went to Prague, Budapest or something, you go and you drink a beer because you're just trying to, drink a beer to your mom, one of those kind of things. So I thought, okay, I'll drink a beer for Mommy, but I don't like beer, which I don't. And I thought, well, if I have to drink a beer, and I'm not a snob, and I don't want you to think I'm a snob because I'm not, I'm a very down-to-earth person, but if you have to do something that you don't want to do, then you have to do the best. So I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll get the best beer in the world, drink a beer for my mother, that'd be great. So I went to my local bookstore, my little local independent bookstore with nice people, and got the beer book. It's a beer book that tells you what's the number. I thought I'll get the number one beer in America. One beer actually is the number one beer in the world. Mm-hmm. So I did. I looked it up. It's Utopia. It's a Sam Adams beer, right? And everybody thinks something if you don't know that. And so I called, it's a place called Vintage Cellar and he's our wine and beer guy. And his name is Keith, and I called Keith, and I said, hey, it's Nikki, how you doing? You talk. And I said, you have a utopia? And he said, no, I don't have a utopia. I said, well, can you just order one and call me? I come over and pick it up. He said, Nikki, we don't get utopia. And I said, what do you mean? You talk to people that somebody's not making sense. And it's like, what do you mean? I'm trying to buy utopia, you sell beer. He said, no, they won't even send it to me. And I said, okay, it's fine. There's a place, if you're ever looking for wine particularly, or any liquor, it's a place in California. And it's called Bounty Hunter. Yes, right outside LA. They have it. If it's liquid, they have it. So I called Bounty Hunter because I trade with them. They do the justice system, poetic justice, frontier justice, So, they do a lot of, if you just love somebody and want to do something really special. I mean, it's not for Mug and David, you know what I'm saying? And so that's the truth. So I called Bounty Hunter and said, hi, it's Giovanni, because they know me, we've done something. And they're like, we don't sell Utopia. And I said, well, why not? He said, it's a beer. We only sell wine and liqueur. He said, but there's a place in Canada that sells it. And I said, I'm not going to buy an American beer in Canada. And one of the things that you don't know about me, but you probably know if you know anything about my writing, I do tend sometimes to bitch. And so there's no other word for it. Because now I can't find the utopia. The only place I can do is I can go online, but you know what I think about that. And so now I'm on a book tour. It's getting to be February, and so you're going around and around. And I'm going up the East Coast, and I'm bitching that I can't find this beer. And fortunately for me, to tell you the ending before that, I'm doing NPR complaining that I can't find Utopia. And I'm in Boston, and one of the people, I guess on his way to work or something, was the brewmaster at Sam Adams. Wow. And so he called in and said, tell Dr. Giovanni, we're going to send her the beer, and we're going to send her the glasses to drink it out of, because it has special glasses, which I thought was very nice. But in the meantime, I got invited to speak at the CIA. And it's February. I mean, it's February. The woman who runs my office is really an awesome person. And twice she has said things to me. Once it was about the National Science Foundation, the other time it was about CIA. And she said, you got a call from the CIA for their, but I told them I'd have to get back to them because you're running a tight schedule. And it's like, Jenny, we cleared for the CIA. I mean, do you really think I would say no? Plus, as I mentioned in this piece, I wanted an illegal favor. Because I knew, and I know, that they have the best computers in the world. And I knew that if there was a utopia any place in the 50 states and anywhere territories, they could find it. So I went, but I'm an American, I pay taxes, what the hell, And I know that they know what I think about everything anyway, because I know I don't have any secrets from it. I gotta tell you, I looked good. Put on my St. John's, you know what I'm saying? I was fine, I looked really good. And what I did for them was Rosa Parks, because I know they didn't know Rosa Parks my hole in the wall. So I did the book, explained it, and they had a lunch for me. And I was charming. And finally the director, and the director was like, I'm so glad to have you. And I said, well, it's such a pleasure, Leanne, to be with you and your group.